This is Third Eyesight. My name is Juan Francisco, and I'm a medium and tarot card reader. I've always been curious about the supernatural and the paranormal, and I'm here to share my stories and interview folks who want to share their own stories with us. Let's get to it. So this is episode 50 of Third Eyesight. So it's really apropos, I think, to make the last episode of 2022 episode 50. That feels really cool to me. That feels really exciting to me. And I want to end 2022 with you with a message for you that you've heard before in many different ways on the podcast, but I want to be a little bit more, I want it to be a little bit more poignant for you. So before I get into that, last night, I'm recording this on a Friday, and last night I did my Instagram lives, and they are just wonderful. They're not always easy because sometimes difficult topics come up in readings, whether they're tarot readings or mediumship readings with loved ones from the other side, but I find them so fulfilling to do, and I hope that those of you who hop onto those lives feel like you get something out of it, even if you don't get a reading from me directly on the Instagram live. But sometimes I hear things that even I need to hear. I feel like with every reading I do, I learn something, even a little itty bitty thing. From that to a big thing, or from a little thing to a big thing, I learned something in a reading that I do for somebody else. And also the newsletter for December went out December 1st, and a few people gave me really kind, short feedback on what they thought of it. And if you want to sign up for my monthly newsletter, which there will be a newsletter coming out January 3rd, right in time for the new year. So if you want an exclusive tarot reading for the month of January, you're going to get it in your inbox January 3rd. You just have to sign up on my website, juanfranciscospirit.com/newsletter. Or you can just go to the homepage of my website, juanfranciscospirit.com, and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. You're going to see a box where you can put in your email and subscribe to my newsletter. So what I want to talk about today to end our year together of 2022, I'm going to start with the thesis statement, so to speak. You can be psychic too. Now, I believe that you are automatically psychic because you're a spirit, a soul in a human body. When I say you can be psychic too, I'm talking about the action of practicing, of exploring your psychic abilities. So I want to challenge you in this new year to come of 2023, which is an insane number to conceptualize right now. 2023, wow. I challenge you in 2023 to explore your intuition and to stop telling yourself there are people who can do this and I can't. I go to those people because they know how to do it. The basic message of this episode is you are psychic. And I kind of equate intuition and psychic abilities to, I was going to say I usually equate it to blank, but I'm not thinking of what the blank is. So I obviously don't usually think about this equation, this metaphor. But I think I can compare intuition and psychic ability to something like cooking skills. Let's try this. Let's see if this resonates with you. Cooking. Some people just have a passion and a love for cooking. And all of us can cook. We can all learn how to cook. But not all of us want to cook the same type of cuisine or with the same kind of spices. That's what makes the field of cooking so interesting, right? That's what makes it so diverse. So I believe we all have intuition, but some of us may be more called towards tarot cards, some of us towards runes, or towards tea leaves. Maybe it's not using anything at all, no object at all in front of you. Maybe it's psychometry, where you touch an object and you feel the energy of the person who owned it. and you pick up on the psychic energy of that person who once owned it, living or past. Or maybe it's mediumship. And I know this is kind of murky water territory, but I am of the school of thought that thinks not all psychics are mediums, but all mediums are psychics. Now, some people may disagree with that. That's totally fine. But I think mediumship, it taps into the clairs, right? And the clairs are such a huge part of psychic ability and the knowingness and tapping into energy that is outside of our own and outside of our bodies as well. So whether you want to be a psychic and or a medium, it's really up to you to learn what resonates the most with you. And under the umbrella of psychic, like I said, there's so many paths. So what I want to challenge you to do this new year, 2023, is start exploring this side to you. You can start by joining a spirit circle that allows people to practice this. There are some free spirit circles out there. Some you have to pay for, but they're not a really crazy price. Some you have to pay $20. And if you have time to do that Google search to look up virtual, because now, since the COVID-19 pandemic, so many circles have gone virtual. Do a Google search. I highly recommend the app and the website Meetup. It is free to join. It's not free to create your own Meetup group, but to join as a user that can join people's groups that are already out there, it's free of cost. And that's how I discovered my mediumship circle that has changed my life. And maybe you'll find your own. And if it's not mediumship, if it's not tarot like it is for me, maybe it's another kind of group that focuses, maybe it's a group that focuses on healing. Healing is another modality that I think our intuition can tap into. So maybe it's healing, maybe it's Reiki, maybe it is reading tea leaves, maybe it's something else. But find your niche. And maybe you'll learn that you don't need a group, or that it's just you're not suitable for a group. It doesn't resonate with you to be part of a group and you would rather explore this on your own. However, to really know how your ability works, it helps to practice with other people. I can sit here all day and practice mediumship on my own, and I'm getting all this information about, let's say I think about my friend, and I just think about them, and I ask Spirit, okay, can someone come forward for me, for this friend, and give me some information? And I'm here on my own in my studio, and I never tell my friend about what I'm getting. Like I never text them, or I call them and say, hey, I was just channeling your so-and-so. Which would be a little bit inappropriate and awkward, by the way, to do that. If I were to do that all on my own and not get the live feedback and or the permission to share this with my friend, it doesn't make any sense to do it by myself. So similarly with other types of modalities and psychic practices, it helps to do it with people or with another person. So if you want to explore your psychic ability or whatever kind of modality that interests you, find a friend that you trust to practice it with. So for me, when I started studying tarot cards and I felt comfortable having known the meaning of each card, I asked my friends if I could practice with them, or I offered my readings to them. I would say, I need the practice. So if you would like me to do reading for you, that'd be great. I could use the practice. And that's how I started my tarot card readings, is practicing with friends. And then it became something for the public, and it was pay as you wish. If some of you might remember that almost a year ago or so. With mediumship as well, I also started that way. I practiced with people I knew, and then it was pay as you wish. And now I charge set prices for tarot card readings and mediumship readings because I got to a point where I felt that, okay, this is a pretty consistent experience that I'm having each time with sitters, with people who book with me, or people who have readings with me, where they do take something from the reading, at least one thing that is really important to them. And that's why I decided to go public and to start charging for my services in this realm. Now, I'm not saying that in 2023 you're going to become a psychic for hire, or a medium for hire, or a reader for hire. What I want you to focus the most on is exploring your ability, which is what I did when I started my journey with this 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. And look to where it's brought me, where I'm doing Instagram lives with readings. If you would have told me that 2 years ago, I would have told you that's absolutely nuts. Like, I could never do something like that. And believe me, the first several times I did Instagram lives, particularly focus on mediumship, because tarot card readings do get me nervous sometimes because I want to get it right, but I need to let go of the desire to get something right and just trust that what comes through is going to be helpful to the person. But I do get nervous because that's my human side. And so when I first started with tarot card readings, doing them live, I got so nervous. And then mediumship readings, which adds another level of vulnerability, as I mentioned in my last episode, to the experience for the sitter, for the person receiving the information, that got me even more nervous. So if you would have told me that I'd be doing this consistently, these Instagram lives, and also doing one-on-one readings the way I do, I would have not believed you when I first started out. So what I want to tell you is, don't explore your intuition with the desire, or not with the desire rather, but with the mindset of, I will one day become a professional so-and-so. Don't focus so much on that. Focus on getting in touch with the soul nature of you. SOUL, soul nature of you. Make that the priority. And when we make when we make that the priority, that also makes all the difference. Even as I am doing this as a business and doing it on Instagram, I always prioritize the connection of souls. And some people may feel like, well, you make money off of a reading. Well, yes, I do. And that doesn't take away from the soul connection. The money is compensation for my time. And I hope people feel, and I think that the way I charge for my readings at this point in my career is a fair price, because that is compensation for my energy and my time towards a stranger. But at the core of these experiences, the only reason I do this is because I want there to be a soul connection or a connection to higher power in my readings with people. And that is what drives what I do in those readings, whether one-on-one or on Instagram Live. So whether I'm doing this as a business or doing it without charging for it, the priority of the soul connection has to be there for me. So as you explore your abilities, make sure to not worry about getting clients one day or becoming a professional. Maybe you don't ever want to become a professional. Maybe you won't ever be a professional in this respect. And that's okay. I've known many people who have abilities but never made it a profession. They just live their lives as nurses, as teachers, and they also happen to have this ability that they've always known was present, and they're happy. And that's fine. So it's really up to you. Actually, someone told me recently, someone who's become a mentor for me, when I told them a few months ago that, I'm still exploring this as a career for me. And I see myself doing this part-time as I do now, while having the full-time job. And before I commit to the idea of going full-time, which I don't think I'm at a place to do that right now, but before I do commit to that idea, I want to make sure I'm actually meant to do this as a career, which is why I'm dipping my toes into it with the prices I charge and the pace at which I do one-on-one readings. And they told me, no, you are, I feel very humbled by them telling me this, but they told me, no, you are meant to do this. The key is whether or not you want it. And that really is a difference. So you, the listener, have psychic ability and have the ability to connect on a soul level with people here and beyond. It's there. You can't really remove it, but you can ignore it. And the key difference is that whether you want to ignore it and how much you want to tap into it. And if you want it to become a business, once you feel like you've gotten comfortable practicing that connection with the other side and or your higher power, with other people's souls, with the soul level of everything in the universe, through readings, through practicing readings and stuff like that. Once you feel like you've come to a comfortable point doing that, and you feel this tug inside of you to go public with it, and maybe you want to do it voluntarily, maybe you want to charge people for readings, that will come when it comes. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to practice for the next 2 weeks being a psychic and or medium, and then in a month you are charging people for readings. Don't put that pressure on yourself. And also, if you were to do that, to be honest, it may be a little bit shady, because you can't learn being comfortable with all of this within the span of 2 weeks. It took me a very long time. I know it took me less than a year, but it did not take me 2-3 months. It took way longer than that. It took some time for me to feel like, okay, I can do this. I'm learning that this is something that I can do. And it's interesting because when I first started going public with my abilities, the focus was on tarot card readings for booked readings. And I introduced mediumship way later. And I do feel like mediumship is something I have a larger affinity for now. But tarot card readings, I enjoy them a lot, and I can do them well, I have to say. I enjoy doing tarot card readings, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it, if I do say so myself. But mediumship is just there's something about it that I connect with so much and on a different level. And I think it's because of what I said in my last episode, the fascination with the other side, with our mortality, with death and dying. That drives my passion for wanting to grow as a medium. But tarot cards are what brought me to mediumship. So interesting, right? So I have a love for tarot cards as well. Not only are they beautiful, I love the cards of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. They're beautiful. But they were my bridge to mediumship. And I do enjoy reading with those as well. So challenge yourself. Dare yourself to explore your psychic abilities. And there are a few great books that I can recommend to you. So I have interviewed Catherine Allen before on the podcast, and she has 2 books. Her first book is called A Little Bit of Intuition. Wonderful, wonderful book on how to get comfortable practicing your intuition, accepting that you have it, because it's there, and it's about whether or not you want to tap into it and explore it, to hone in on it or not. And then her second book is called Vibes from the Other Side, and it delves a little more into what are angels, what are fairies, what is, I believe she even goes into psychometry, like the different, like the first book is about intuition and how to hone in on your intuition. And the second book is about the different modalities that intuition can play a big role in, and different types of guides and different types of practices to cleanse your space. Like more, I would say like this, her second book is a lot about the tools you can use in the physical world. I don't know I hope she would agree with me if by me saying this, but when I read her book, that's what I understood. I actually told her once that it's almost like it's a very helpful manual. And she thought that was a very interesting description, and she used it in a lecture she did. She said, oh, a friend of mine called this book a manual. And and I that's how I saw it. It's like the first book was very conceptual about, okay, you have intuition, here's how to tap into it, to practice it. And the second book is, okay, you can take your intuition and use these tools. It's like having the hunger to eat something, and then you have the fork and knife to eat the thing, right? The hunger's there. You're going to be hungry. And now it's time to eat. So what are you going to use to eat? Is it a sandwich? You're going to use your hands? Is it a pizza? Are you going to use a knife and fork for a pizza? Or your hands? You can do either, really. I mean, I use a fork and knife sometimes. No judgment, okay? Is it a rice dish and you need a spoon? Is it a soup and you need a spoon? Which tools are you going to use to eat? Is it chopsticks? Is it something else? And that's what I felt like her second book was about, was about the tools and the different modalities to tap into with intuition. So Vibes from the Other Side, her second book, and her first book, a little bit of intuition. Really great reads that I highly recommend if you want to start on your journey. And there is another book that I want to recommend, which isn't so much related to, I would put it in a different category, but it can still inspire you to start on your journey and connecting with the other side. And it's Signs. The book is called Signs by Laura Lynn Jackson. Laura Lynn Jackson. You might have heard of it. She's an extremely popular medium. She was featured on, what's the name of that show on Netflix? Surviving Death, as well as on an episode of Goop on Netflix, and an episode about mediumship and psychic ability. And she wrote the book Signs. It's her second book. I have not read her first book, The Light Between Us. I have not read The Light Between Us, but I read Signs and I really, really liked it. And Signs is a compilation of stories from her clients with their permission of signs they asked for, or maybe didn't expect, that they knew were from their loved ones, just knew. And she talks about how you can ask your loved ones for signs as well, and that they will definitely deliver on them. Maybe not at the time maybe not at the time you want them to appear, but at the time that you will need them to appear without you even realizing that you needed them at that moment. Really great book. So between those three books, I feel very comfortable sharing those three book titles with you as a jumping off point, and bravely go into that space. I know it seems a little bit crazy, and I think I grew up thinking that, this is something other people do. I'm just a regular, quote unquote, regular person. This is what I see on TV. This is what I hear on the radio. There are people that are born with this gift. Now, I do believe there are certain people who are born with a higher sensitivity, like Teresa Caputo. Like I said before, I've seen her live many times, and she is so freaking on point. It's unbelievable. And I believe what I'm watching when it's happening in front of me. And I love her on TV, always did, but seeing her live is just, you realize that, that TV show is very edited, but the accuracy and how quick she is it's exactly the way it feels like on TV. It's incredible. And she, I believe, is someone who has a higher sensitivity. Tyler Henry is another person like that. Like for me, I don't walk into a grocery store and just see people's loved ones or just feel them. I don't. And that's why for a long time, I thought, well, you have to be like that in order to be a good medium or a good psychic. If you don't walk around feeling people's emotions, then you're not really psychic. You're just a regular Joe Schmo, regular person. But that's just not true. That's just not true. And Hannah McIntyre of Mediumship Matters has talked about that on her podcast before. And it really resonates with me. And for her, it doesn't happen that way either, where she walks into a grocery store and she feels spirit. But for some people, it does. And for the rest of us, it doesn't. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make me less of a medium or a psychic than Teresa Caputo. It may make me less quick, maybe less accurate sometimes. I'm comfortable saying that. Maybe it makes me less accurate sometimes because I'm not as sensitive, so I have to work even harder to let go of my human mind and my own thoughts, and to let the message just come through. I have to try a little harder to let go. But even Teresa Caputo will say, you can do this too. You have this connection with your loved ones. I'm just the channel. That literally is what we are. We are just the channel. NBC, if you're in the United States, the NBC News Network, NBC is always going to be there. Well, in the foreseeable future, NBC is always going to exist, whether you watch it or not. The news, actually, this is an even better, I'm going to go a little deeper. This is an even better metaphor. The news coming out of Europe, the news coming out of Asia, just for an example, I'm not picking these countries or these continents for any particular reason, just saying the news from Europe and Asia, things are going to happen. Events are going to happen. I can watch NBC to watch the news. I can watch Fox News. I can watch CNN. I can watch the BBC. I can watch the Young Turks. I can choose my channel. And it really depends on which channel resonates the most with how I like to receive information. And also based on my ethical standards and my moral standards, which news network aligns with my ethical standards of journalism that I believe journalists should have. And I think all of us should feel the same way about the psychics and the mediums that we book for readings. Does this psychic or medium communicate information in a way that resonates with you? Do you like their communication style? Do you feel like the way they view the world when they share about their views? Do you feel like their worldviews, that you connect with them? And if you don't agree with them, do you feel like there are values that you share with the medium or the psychic that are important to you? If there's no connection of values worldviews, people will have opinions. And I don't think a psychic or medium's opinion really matters. But if it disrupts or if it doesn't align with your values as a person, if there are racist psychics out there, there are racist mediums. Some of us feel uncomfortable. I would feel very uncomfortable talking to a psychic or medium who makes a racist comment in a reading. And I would never want to see them again for a reading. Other people, that may not bother them. To each their own, but I know where I'm going to spend my time and my money when it comes to a reading with somebody, with a psychic or medium that I see. It's important to be aware of how a medium communicates and whether your values align with the reason you're doing a reading with them and with them as a person as they communicate to you in the reading. You get a gist of their personality, you get a feel for the personality. I think you also get an intuitive gut feeling about their personality. The reason I mentioned worldviews, this may sound all very confusing because, how am I going to learn a psychic medium's worldviews? Well, with social media, it's very easy to learn what a psychic or medium thinks about a lot of things these days. Before, we didn't have that same level of ability. People just had websites and not so much social media presence, right? And I've told my story about being connected to a psychic medium whose views were really conflicting with my values. I decided to not consult with them anymore. And that's okay. So coming back to you and practicing mediumship and or psychic abilities of any kind, just know that you are no better. I heard this the other day and it was brilliant. I heard it yesterday. It was brilliant. You are no better than any other person, and no person is better than you. No psychic is better than you, and you're no better than the next psychic. Fill in the blank. Medium, healer, fill in the blank. Just know that we're all in this together, and just because I'm out here doing Instagram lives, one-on-one readings, even this podcast, doesn't make me an authority figure. If people want to call me, based on some experiences I've had, an expert because I've had firsthand experiences, I understand that, and I'll humbly take that title. That's fine. But at the end of the day, the things I've experienced are not things that only a special few of us experience. It's not restricted to just me. I'm just a regular person living my life in New York City, grew up in South Florida in the United States, from a middle-class family, multiracial kid. I'm a middle-class person. I am regular. I'm normal. I think my life is pretty extraordinary, but I'm pretty normal. Some people find me boring. There's some people out there who think my lifestyle is very boring. So I'm not a special stand out from the crowd kind of person, So who am I to judge myself, right? That I don't have what it takes to be a psychic medium and so don't judge yourself. Don't think that you have to be always in tune and there's someone in the room. Oh, I got the chills. You don't have to feel all those things to declare that you're an intuitive person. There are other ways to feel intuition other than feeling chills down your back, other than getting nauseous in the head, other than getting a headache, other than getting all these things of which I would hate to feel. So I have felt these things before once, very once in a while. I'll feel them when I enter spaces, but it's not like when I go to Trader Joe's that I am in line for the cashier and I want to tell the person in front of me, "Excuse me, did your mother pass away?" And I snicker because I think it's just something I don't do. And I think there's this belief out there that I must be not a widespread belief about me, but there are some people who might think that I go around and I just feel things all the time. I don't. Sometimes I do, but it happens way less often than you might think. So please don't look at us practicing psychics and mediums of businesses or just practicing. Don't look at us as these special people. They can do that, but I can't do that because they're special. They're gifted. No, you have intuition too. You just have to find which eating utensil you're going to eat with. Is it the fork? Is it the knife? Well, hopefully not just a knife. Fork and knife, is it a spoon? Is it chopsticks? What are you going to use as your tool to practice your intuition, to explore your intuition more, to apply it into action, everyday action, or into practice? Is your fork psychic ability? Is your spoon tarot cards? Is your chopsticks mediumship? So that's my challenge for you. And challenge sounds like a scary word, but I think it's a good word to use. I challenge you in 2023 to start exploring your intuition. Think of the 3 book titles I mentioned. Think of the things I've said in this podcast. And the last thing I'm going to say, and I've said it before, you may be wondering, Juan, why are you telling me this? Don't you want to make money off of your readings? If you're going to tell me to try this and then I make my own business, I'll be your competitor. No, I personally don't believe there are competitors in the psychic realm of work. I think to see other people in my field as competitors taps so much into my ego, it would be just very unhealthy for me and my business. And the fact of the matter is, like I said, you can choose your news channel. I am not the same as the next psychic reader. I am a different person. We are all doing the same, on a broad level, we're all doing the same type of work, connecting you to the true essence of yourself and or connecting you to your loved ones because of the connection you already have to them. What makes each of us different in this industry is the personality that we bring to our work, ourselves, that we bring to our work. That's what makes me stand apart from other people, is my personality, just how they stand apart from me. So I can't compete with other people, because to compete based on our personalities, that's not very fair. So me telling you this, I'm not here thinking I'm going to lose business because I'm telling you this. It has nothing to do with that, because you are your own person. And if you feel like you want to start a business after exploring this for a while and feeling confident, having the mentors you need, the fellows you need to practice with, the friends you need, the spirit circle sessions you need to come to a point where you want to start your own business, do it. Do it. We need more of this in the world. I think our planet, well, I'm gonna say I'm not familiar with everything across the planet, every culture across the planet, how comfortable each culture is with this topic of psychic ability and mediumship. But I can talk for the United States. I feel like at least in metropolitan United States, metropolitan cultures in the United States are seemingly becoming more comfortable with talking about these things. Even if it doesn't really know what it's all about, people are having fun with the idea and toying around with it. And I think we are at a point where we can start coming out of the woodwork. We need to, I really feel like we need to tell people that they all have an ability. They all have the ability of intuition. It's about finding what your gift is. Everyone has the ability to be intuitive. The gift is finding what helps you tap best into your intuition. So I'll leave you with that. I wish you a beautiful, beautiful end of the year. If you celebrate the holidays, happy holiday season. I love the holidays. I love Christmas. And I wish you a beautiful, beautiful new year. And you're going to hear the next podcast episode on January 3rd. And you're also going to be receiving, if you are a newsletter subscriber, a January 1st newsletter in your inbox with an exclusive special edition. That sounds so fancy, right? Special edition exclusive tarot card reading for the new year. Have a beautiful day and speak soon.